They said in the placard that the window is now thought to perhaps be an incorrect part of the reconstruction. There's the, looks like they have perhaps a sunroof. Yes. Well, at least with the window we can see inside. It would be a bit short for me. I think I might bump my head. I was so pleasantly surprised that Petrified Forest National Park was not just about rocks, beautiful rocks. It also had amazing badlands of several different color combinations. This will be a two-part episode. First, the petrified parts, and in part two, the badlands. Greetings, Gugu-Gee-ans. We are in the Petrified Forest National Park, and we've just driven up to the visitor center, which has a long line to get in, so maybe we'll either skip that or come back later. But in the meantime, there's a very easy hike here right behind that building, which is the Giant Logs Trail, where you can see, for example, a log called Old Faithful, which is a giant petrified log. So this is Old Faithful. Not that Old Faithful. This is a different Old Faithful. Look at the colors. Old Faithful is about 35 feet in length, 10 feet across at the base, and is estimated to weigh around 44 tons. The way that wood becomes petrified is that basically the tree dies, falls, and it gets covered in silt and other things, volcanic ash that sort of preserve its shape, and then the wood becomes replaced by mineral, through a process that sounds a bit complicated to explain, but basically it's no longer wood, it's now mineral, but it retains the shape and the look of wood. The temperature earlier was definitely in the 90s, maybe the low 90s, but thankfully there's some cloud cover right now. It feels really nice. I feel very lucky about that. Obviously you cannot take any rocks or petrified wood from the national park, but there are a lot of places to buy the petrified wood. I think even the gift shop here, and there was a place on the road that had amazingly big, huge pieces of petrified wood, polished sometimes, not polished. My next stop was to take the Agate House hike. So we are going to take the Long Logs and Agate House trail, which is, I believe, about a mile long. I guess it's a mile there and a mile back if we go to the Agate House. The trail begins not far from the visitor center. You can probably see it behind me. Anyway, it is a reconstructed pueblo. I think they found, they excavated a base, so they knew basically the shape of the structure, and then they reconstructed it using pieces of petrified wood. So let's go check it out. We're still getting a bit of cloud cover, which is nice. I hope that continues, because when the sun comes beating down, it is quite hot. Well, this trail is very easy so far. It is paved, and it seems to be even wheelchair accessible. So there's the pueblo. We are getting to it. Well, here we are. We've made it. As I mentioned earlier, this is a reconstruction. This was inhabited, they think, sometime between 1050 and 1300. And it's thought to be a rather large house. But it may also have been like a central meeting structure with a sort of a courtyard in the middle, it looks like. Okay, so coming back from the Agate house, there's a fork. That's where we just came from. And there's a fork here to the long trees. A little bit of shade. Ah. Ah. The mineral colors, the minerals that made up these petrified rocks, the color combinations are just amazing. All right, Gugu-Gee-ans. After a little rest and a little bit of water and a little bit of shade, we will now continue back to the beginning of the path. What awaits for us further north is, next on our stop, is the Crystal Forest and the Jasper Forest. So look forward to that. Well, I think we've officially lost our shade now. All of those beautiful clouds are blowing that way. And the end of the clouds has just appeared. They're all going that way. So, hot sun for a while. 223 million years ago, this whole area was a subtropical forest, just a few degrees north of the equator. I headed further north next, for what seemed to be a much more popular hike than Agate House. So I'm now in Crystal Forest, which has a little bit of everything. A little bit of big rocks and a little bit of crystal, lots of colors. It seems to be a popular path. It's a very easy path. It's paved. So we have just turned in to head towards Jasper Forest. A little half-a-mile drive to Jasper Forest. I think it's a lookout. I did not take this hike into the so-called Jasper Forest, but as you can see from the lookout above, there are plenty of samples of wood to see on this hike. A few words about the colors of these preserved trees in the park and the types of trace minerals which they contain. The bright reds, oranges, and yellows are primarily caused by concentrations of iron and magnesium, while the blues and the greens are created by traces of cobalt, chromium, and copper. Well, that is all for part 1. Tune in next week for part 2, where we start moving more and more into the Badlands of this park. We'll see you next week. By the way, very quickly, if you like the show, consider Buy Me a Coffee to help support the show. Buy Me a Coffee is a great way for creators and artists to accept one-time support or membership ongoing from their fans for the price of a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/brainfire to help the show. Thank you.
Take some coffee and some bagels and get out of here to where the weather